Hey guys, it's Josh again, and I will be reading Abraham Lincoln Pro Wrestler, Chapter 9 through 12. And here we go. All visitors must check in at front desk. That's what the sign on the front door of school said. Abby pointed it out to Doc as they walked in the next morning. They skipped breakfast and heading straight for the library. They hurried past Miss Venturi, the librarian, who was sipping coffee at her desk. They opened the door to the storage room. Abraham Lincoln was in there sitting with his feet up on the table, reading. "Ready when you are," he said. Abby and Doc went in and shut the door behind them. "Okay," Doc said. "What we think you should do is wait. Do you hear that? There were voices outside the door, Miss Venturi and a teacher." The voices were getting closer. Miss Venturi was saying, "Yes, I have a few extra copies in the storage room. Hold on a sec. I'll get one." "She's coming," Doc cried. "Get in the box," Abby said, tugging Lincoln's sleeve. "Why?" he said. "I just got out of the box." You don't have the sticker," Doc said. "Sticker? Guests have to check in," Abby said. "They're really strict about it. They'll kick you out." "Help me into the box," Lincoln said. But the voices were right outside the door. "No time." Doc jumped onto the table and slid open the window. "Quick!" Lincoln stepped onto the table and dove out the window. Or he tried to. His hips got stuck in the window frame.
Is a fly ride monkey good for
The door opened and Miss Venturi came in. "Excuse me," she said. "Just need to grab something." She turned toward a wall of shelves. She did not seem to notice that behind her in the window Abraham Lincoln was kicking his legs like an upside-down budge. Doc reached for one of Lincoln's feet and gave it a shove. Lincoln slid out the window. There was a crashing sound. "What was that?" Miss Venturi asked, turning toward the noise. "Soccer game," Doc said. He was still standing on the table. "Nice shot, Gomez," he shouted out the window. The librarian just shook her head. She'd given up trying to understand Doc. She tucked a book under her arm and said, "Well, I'll see you guys very soon." "We don't have library today," Abby said. "That's what you think," Miss Venturi said. "Can't say more. It's a surprise." She smiled and left the room. The top of Lincoln's hat was visible through the window. "Which way is the front door?" he asked. "Hold on," Doc said. "We're coming." A few minutes later, Miss Martin, the attendance clerk, looked up from her computer. "Good morning, Abby and Doc," and said. Then she noticed a tall man standing next to them. "How may I help you?" "Good morning to you, ma'am," Lincoln said. He tipped his hat. "My name is Abraham Lincoln." I can see that," Miss Martin said. "He's here to visit our class today," Doc said. "We just need to get him one of those stickers guests have to wear." "Of course," Miss Martin said. She tilted her head back to look up at Lincoln. Very nice costume. No beard, though? Beard, Lincoln asked. You know, Miss Martin said, touching her chin. I'll grow it soon, Lincoln said. I have to, I, I have come to meet with Doc and Abby's class. So if you will kindly give me the proper pass, we can be on our way. Miss Martin was smiling. He's not bad, she said to Doc. Doc nodded. We like him, but it would be better with the beard, she said. You're an actor, I'm guessing? She asked Lincoln. I'm a lawyer, he said. Makes sense, Miss Martin said. Can't be much money in being an Abraham Lincoln. Oh, what do they call it? Reenactor? I also served one term in the United States Congress, Lincoln said. Good for you, Miss Martin said. I'll just need to see a picture ID. Pardon? Driver's license, please. Lincoln looked at Abby and Doc. I don't have one, Lincoln said. How'd you get here? Miss Martin asked. Hard to explain. How do you get around? She asked. Lincoln, old Bob, he said. What? That's my horse, Lincoln said. His name is Old Bob. I see, Miss Martin said. And what is your name, Abraham Lincoln? Lincoln said. No middle name, Miss Martin. Wasn't smiling anymore. Lincoln started to spell his name. A-B-R. I know how to spell it, Miss Martin cut him off. It sounds weird, Doc said, but he really is Abraham Lincoln. Of course he is, Miss Martin said. I'll still need a driver's license. Okay, fine. He's an actor, Abby said. And he's wearing a costume, Doc said. That's why he doesn't have his wallet. He forgot it in his real clothes. Now, that I believe, Miss Martin said. So he can go in, Abby asked. Absolutely not, Principal Darling stepped out of her office. She folded her arms across her chest and said, Is there a problem here? Chapter 10. So, to review, Doc said, our plan to fix history totally failed. Check, Abby said. Check, Abby said. After kicking Lincoln out of school, Principal Darling had sent Doc and Abby straight to their classroom. They were sitting at their desks. Class was about to start. Abraham Lincoln was parking in the parking lot or somewhere out there. After the usual morning announcements, Principal Darling reminded everyone about the wrestling tournament. This is our big fundraiser for the year, and several famous wrestlers have agreed to donate their time. Can you believe that? A man by the name of, I have it here somewhere. Ah, yeah, Gigantic Phil. Kids cheered. He was a pretty popular wrestler. Well, he will be here in our very own gym tonight. It's going to be a exciting evening, and I hope to see you all there. Oh, and one more thing, she said. All fourth grade teachers and classes, please make your way to the library to meet a very special surprise guest. Have a great day, everyone. What's going on? Doc said. Miss Mabie was smiling. You'll see, she said. About 100 kids crowded together on the library carpet in front of a smart board. The teacher sat in folding chairs behind the kids. Miss Mabie stood in front of the room with Miss Venture. We have a real treat for you, Miss Mabie said. A very special guest. That's right, Miss Venture said. I've been hearing all about the history book you've been reading. How Abraham Lincoln just sits in his chair, doing nothing. But the real Lincoln is a lot more exciting, I can assure you. Because I've just met him. Abby leaned toward Doc and whispered, "They must have let him in, after all. He's a clever guy," Doc said. The librarian glared at them. They stopped talking. "I know you'll show our guest respect by sitting quietly and raising your hand to ask questions," Miss Venturi said. "Now, would you please welcome the greatest president of them all, Mr. Abraham Lincoln?" Everyone clapped. Doc and Abby stood and cheered. In walked a man in a black suit and a tall hat and a beard. He looked kind of like Abraham Lincoln, but it was obviously Mr. Biddle, the gym teacher. "Did somebody say 407 years ago?" Doc and Abby sat down. "Greeting, boys and girls," Mr. Biddle called in a deep, booming voice, a voice that sounded nothing like Abraham Lincoln. "My name is Abraham Lincoln, and I am here to tell you about my life. How awesome it is." Kids laughed and hooted. Mr. Biddle's beard was held on by a string that looped around his ears. A Chicago Cubs t-shirt was clearly visible under his white dress shirt. A photo of a log cabin appeared on the smartboard. Thanks, Jenny," Mr. Biddle said. "I mean, Miss Venturi. What marvelous technology you people have these days." He pointed to the screen. "As you may have heard, I was born in—" Mr. Biddle glanced at an index card in his hand. "In 1809 in Kentucky, making me the first president to be born outside the 13 original states. We lived in a log cabin with just one room and a dirt floor. Ever try sweeping a dirt floor? You sweep for an hour and there's still dirt on the floor." That got some laughs. Next slide, please." Mrs. Venturi hit a bottom on her computer. The screen showed a drawing of a boy lying in front of a fireplace reading. "We moved to Indiana when I was about seven," Mr. Biddle said. "Farm chores kept me busy all day, but at night I would read by the lights of their fire. It was my fondest wish to attempt school, but the nearest schoolhouse was far away, so I got up before dawn each day and walked 15 miles through snowdrifts high above my head." "Come on now," a voice called out. "Next you'll tell us it was uphill both ways." "I asked you to raise your hand," Miss Venturi said. But the comment had not come from one of the students. It had come from Abraham Lincoln, the real one. Time to drop some actual knowledge on you. Chapter 11. Kids turned around to watch Abraham Lincoln walk through the library toward Mr. Biddle. "This man is telling you one of those old Lincoln myths, walking 15 miles to school," Lincoln said. "The truth is, it did not attempt more than a year worth of school in my entire—" Lincoln tripped on the legs of seated kids and stumbled to the floor front of the room and crashed into the smartboard. You all right, pal? Mr. Biddle asked. Fine, thank you, Lincoln said, straightening his hat. I am Abraham Lincoln. Me too, Mr. Biddle said. They shook hands. Lincoln turned to the kids and said, But you see, I truly am Abraham Lincoln. You don't sound like him, a kid shouted. Like who? Lincoln asked. Like Lincoln, the kid said. Your voice is too high. He pointed to Mr. Biddle. He sounds more like a Lincoln. Why, thank you, sir, Mr. Biddle said in his fake deep voice. How do you know what I sounded like? Lincoln asked. There are no recordings of my voice. I died about 10 years before Thomas Edison invented the phonograph. The exact year of that invention slipped my mind, which reminds me of a forgetful fellow I knew back in Illinois. One night he put his suit to bed and threw himself over the back of a chair. Lincoln laughed. No one else did. Good one, Abby said. The room was silent. Does anyone mind if I continue? Asked Mr. Biddle. Please do, said Miss Venturi. The screen switched to a picture of young Lincoln chopping wood with an axe. I grew tall and strong in my teen years, Mr. Biddle said. Look at those arms. You don't get pipes like that from sitting on the couch and playing video games. Mr. Biddle flexed there like a bodybuilder. Kids laughed and cheered. Lincoln stepped in front of Mr. Biddle. I was always eager to leave home, he said. My father and we never did get along, so at 19 I took a job on a boat on the Mississippi River. I traveled all the way to New Orleans, which is where I saw slavery up close for the first time. Seeing that evil humans being bought and sold had a profound impact on my life. Doc and Abby looked proud. Everyone else looked really confused. Mrs. Venturi said, Who is this person? Doc jumped up and pointed to Lincoln. He is really the real Abraham Lincoln. It's true, Abby said. Asked him anything. Where's your beard? Asked a boy up front. Beard, Lincoln moaned. Does anyone care about anything about the beard? It does seem a shame, Miss Venturi said. You've gone to the terrible trouble of buying the whole Lincoln costume. Why not get the beard? I've got the beard, Mr. Biddle said, rubbing his chin. Lincoln took a deep breath. Okay, the beard story, he said. When I was a candidate for President of the United States, I got a letter from a girl of 11 named Grace Biddle. Grace wrote that her father supported me and that she was trying to persuade others to, well, I have the letter here somewhere. He took off his hat and pulled out a folded piece of paper. He pointed to Maya, a girl sitting up front, saying, Read this paper here. Maya took the paper and read. If you'll let your whiskers grow, I will try and get the rest of them to vote for you. You would look a great deal better, for your face is so thin. All the ladies like whiskers, and they would tease their husband to vote for you, and then you would be president." The whole class laughed. Doc and Abby smiled at each other. The plan was working. "I was elected," Lincoln said, "and by February of 1861, when I set off from Washington, D.C., I had the beard. My train stopped in many towns along the way, and I even met Grace Biddle in western New York, where she lived. I bent down to show her." Lincoln bent toward Maya, touched his chin, and said, "You see, I let those whiskers grow for you, Grace." The class laughed again. Kids called out, "That's hilarious. What happened next?" Lincoln smiled. "You really want to know?" "Yeah," lots of kids called. Forget history. Let's talk about wrestling," Mr. Biddle said. How many of you guys are going to the big match tonight?" "Wrestling?" Lincoln asked. "I've always loved to wrestle. I'm even the National Wrestling Hall of Fame." "No way," Mr. Biddle said. "Honorary member," Lincoln said. "Look it up." Turning to the kids, he said, "Back when I first moved to Illinois, there was this gang of town bullies. Everyone was afraid of them, but I challenged their leader, the toughest of the bunch, to a wrestling match, and I thrashed the man with the whole town looking on. That got a massive cheer in this school. We prefer to use our words," Principal Darling said. She was standing in the doorway, arms folded. She was glaring at Abraham Lincoln. Doc said, "Uh-oh." Okay. Chapter 12. So, to review, Doc said, "Our plan to save history, complete disaster." Probably, Abby said, "Almost definitely." It was after school. Doc and Abby were in the storage room. They hadn't seen Abraham Lincoln since Principal Darling threw him out of the school for the second time. They'd searched the parking lot and playground. No luck. "Any chance he went back?" Doc said. "You know, to history." "One way to find out," Abby said. She pulled a history textbook from the shelf and flipped to the section about Abraham Lincoln. Listen to this," she said. A read-along. November 6, 1860 was Election Day. It was perhaps the most important election in the nation's history. Abraham Lincoln, however, was missing. Mary Lincoln looked for her husband in his office in town. She checked the barber shop, where he liked to talk with friends, in the alley where he often played handball. He was nowhere to be found. Abby closed the book. "Yep," Doc said. "Disaster." Abby was putting the book back on the shelf when the door flew open. Abraham Lincoln darted in, kicked the door shut. He bent over, hands on knees. "I pant, don't think, pant. The mean principal saw me." "Where were you?" Abby asked. Lincoln held up an enormous cup from a fast food place. He sipped through a straw and said, "You guys have better drinks than we do." "They're looking for you in Springfield," Doc said. "Never mind Springfield," Lincoln said. That fake Lincoln was right. He lifted his hat and pulled out a folded piece of paper. It was a poster for the wrestling tournament at the school that night. I had no idea it was possible to earn a living as a wrestler," Lincoln said. "This is my big chance. Don't you see?" "Not at all," Doc said. I can meet those wonderful athletes, find out how it all works, find out how I can try out myself. Wait, Abby said. Try out for what? To be a professional wrestler, Lincoln practically roared. Far more fun than sitting around in my living room. And you and your friends will finally care about me. What about history? Doc asked. What about history? History needs you, Abby said. We all need you. Too late for that now, Lincoln said. You two did try, I'll give you that. It didn't work out, and to be honest, I'm not sorry. Far from it. I'll feel free for the stress and worry of my usual responsibilities, free to get into the ring. And wrestling, Lincoln put his ear to the door. Voices, the coast isn't clear. Never mind, I'll go out the window. And he did. Okay guys, this will be the end of the video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and next time we will be reading chapter 13. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.